So if Jake Paul said to you, Tash, I'm going to give you £10 million, come and fight me, what would you say?
I'd fight Anthony Joshua for £10 million.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that I've learned through boxing. There's a confidence that you get from being able to protect yourself. I don't go out and front, puff my chest out and I'm big and I'm hard and I want to fight everyone in the street.
Yeah.
I'm quite the opposite, but I know that I can if I need to.
Yeah.
Now with the baby, as soon as I leave this gym and I open, the door to the house, I'm just mum. Yeah. I'm not Miss GB anymore, which she calls me as well. I'm just mum.
Welcome to Bricks to Riches podcast. Today I have a very special guest. This guest is an extreme athlete, 2 times world champion in boxing, and the first woman from Great Britain to go to Olympics. Natasha Jonas, welcome to the podcast.
Cheers, thank you for having me.
Natasha, I'm very impressed by your determination and your discipline, the way you are a single mother and you're currently the 2 times world champion. What gave you the drive and determination to get where you are in the boxing industry? What gave you the drive, the focus?
I think it's something I've always had from a kid. I didn't realise it until I've grown up, but I've always manifested things. So I've always looked at people and thought, I want to be like her or better. The first people that I can remember is the likes of Kelly Holmes, Marion Jones, and people like that. It was all in sport, and sport was the only thing at that time that I thought I was good at. So I've always aspired to be bigger and better and prove people wrong and prove people right. And I grew up with 2 older boy cousins, so naturally, being the only girl with 2 lads, you're competing for and fighting for your right to be there. So yeah, the family's very competitive in everything we do, and that just, that's rounded off by the amount of athletes we've got in it. But I think a lot of it, just comes from myself and just to prove myself right and prove other people wrong, and to fight back against the boxes that people put me in, and the heights that people say I could get to. If people say, right, you're only this good, I'm like, I'm going to prove you wrong, and I'm going to go beyond that. And yeah, I think it's got me here. So
you always get out of your comfort zone.
100%. I think life is about taking your opportunities as they come, and believing in yourself even when nobody else does. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that you've got is your dream and your vision. And I might be able to describe it to you, but you can never see it like I see it. You can never feel it like I feel it. You can never go through them experiences and emotions that I have when I see it. So you've got to believe in yourself at all times. And I think that's the biggest key to anything.
But Natasha, what made you choose boxing? There's loads of sports there, like women like Kelly, the other athlete. There's loads of football people do. They do cricket, they do running, they do netball. Why did you choose boxing? Because you're a very pretty lady. Are you never worried that you might get punched in the face and hurt yourself? Or women are very paranoid about their looks.
Yeah.
But fortunately, you're so good at boxing, you don't have any blemishes or any bruises. You never get hit.
I've had a few in my time. I think the one thing about boxing you can guarantee is that you're going to get hit back. So you have to overcome them fears. And I think, I never envisioned that I was going to actually box. I just started. Boxing for me was a really good mistake. I'd come out of football, which was me. I was on a scholarship in America, playing football over there. And I got injured, and they said that I would never play football again, or it'd take too long to come back and play football. So when I came back, what people don't realise about sport is that there's a whole community and a team within the sport. And because I wasn't doing that sport anymore, being football, I'd lost a whole group of friends. I'd lost my confidence. I'd lost the drive, because sport was my drive and motivation to do anything. And when it went, I was lost without it. And boxing, it was a woman that watched my uncle's gym. That used to say, oh, come along, don't train by yourself in the gym. Come along to these women's only nights. And I went there. I didn't want to go, but she bugged me that much.
How old were you then when you went there?
I was 20 at the time.
Because you're a late bloomer. Because
100%.
like Amir Khan, for example, started at the age of 11, and then he went to get the Olympics at the age of 17. So you started late.
Yeah, most males and young females now will start. You think you can start at 10 and you box at 12, but we're talking almost 20 years ago. So yeah, there wasn't a great scene for women's boxing, and as I say, I only just went to get involved in something to have, be positive again. I just got sacked from my last job, so I wanted something to do to get my mind back right, to get positive, lose a bit of weight, get a bit of confidence back, and to be involved in something. And I went to the women's only night of that club. After a couple of months of being there, they said, you know what, we think you're good enough to compete, but if you want to compete, then you have to come to the elite amateur sessions, which is, at that time, but it was all male. I was the first female for the Rotunda. And, I remember being a little girl going round the corner with me 2 boy cousins.
Yeah.
And the first time I was ever allowed round the corner with me 2 boy cousins. So I'm about 6. And, I'm the little girl, and I've come round. And lads, when they're playing football, they pick all the best players and then they pick the best mates.
Yeah.
And I was obviously the first time I was round there, I was the little girl and I was the last one picked. And I was fuming about it because I knew I was better than one of my cousins.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's no way next time I come round here, I'm getting picked last. And I didn't. I never got picked last again. But when I went to the amateur boxing session on the first day, that's what I felt like again. You're surrounded by a group of males. Everyone's looked because I'm the first female in there. And no one knew what to do. No one knew how hard they could hit. No one. And it was like that tension. And the first thing you do, people think that the first thing you do in boxing is get in and spar. You don't do that for ages. But you have to do a lot of technique work. So it was just that the first thing they say is, right, do the warm-up. Right, everyone get into partners. And I felt like that little girl again, waiting to be picked by someone to be their partner. And it was Liam Smith that said, come on, Tash, I'll be your partner. And that tiny, I don't think he realises how big that one little thing was that meant to me, because it just dispelled everything and it stopped all that awkwardness and stuff. So that tiny little gesture from him was a huge thing for me. And I think even now I understand that boxing's growing and, the female side of it's come up tenfold since I started, but it's still a male-dominated space.
Yes.
So everything that we do can't just be about women supporting women. We have to have male involvement and they have to be with us and be one with us to make it grow even more.
Do you know, when you were sparring, you said you sparred as all men. When you sparred with men, that must have been difficult. Naturally, men are generally stronger than women. So how did you find that experience sparring with men?
It was tough. There wasn't women to spar with, to be honest. For a very long time, I was the only woman in the gym. But that definitely brought my level up. By the time I got to the championships, I was there in an open class championships, having only fought 4 times. And I ended up winning the English championships and becoming an ABA champion within my first 6 months of being at the Rotunda. So that just shows the levels that it brought me on. And then again, when we got through England, we were training with the lads. GB, we trained with the lads, and that we'd always train with the lads the weight below. So we did a little bit quicker, a little bit sharper. But by the time you went back to women, you were a little bit quicker, a little bit, sharper. So it did benefit, but that did benefit us. But now there's so many women, and the levels, as you would expect, keep getting better and keep improving, that you can actually just get spars with women now.
So sparring with men helped you improve your game. Like Mayweather said, that you only get better by fighting smarter fighters, better fighters. Like, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a businessman. I love hanging around with businessmen who are better than me, older than me, because I always learn from them. So the sparring with the guys helped you up your game, did it?
Yeah, 100%. And like you said, there's the knowledge that they had, because I was a female coming into the sport and I'm fighting for very novice for my first times and whatever. But they was lads who'd, been boxing since they were 10, 12, and maybe, they were 15 at the time, but they'd had 20, 30 bouts. So, that kind of experience you can delve into, and then there's not a situation that one of them lads hasn't been in, and you can pick, even watching spars. I used to watch spars and think, right, I'm going to try that. And sometimes I'd try it and it worked, sometimes I'd try it and it didn't. But at least being around it, I could try and and I picked the best bits of what I thought was the best bits and what would work for me, and use that. So, yeah.
So, do you know when you spar with guys, and say when you knocked a guy out, the psychological trauma on the guy must be a lot? Because I remember as a child once I was playing badminton with this girl who played for England, and she beat me, and all my friends were taking the mickey, oh, you lost to a girl. So the guys that you beat, I bet they were traumatized.
Yeah, I mean, it can be uncomfortable because for them as well, it's a lose-lose situation. Yeah. You go in and you absolutely beat a girl up, then everyone's like, oh, there's no need for that.
Yeah.
And then if you go in and you get beat up, everyone's like, well,
you got beaten up by a girl.
You got beat up by a girl. So it's a lose-lose for them. But I think there's a mutual respect when, especially in our gym, when I've sparred with men, no one's in there to kill anyone.
Yeah.
And we're all in there to learn and develop and grow. So I think, if they can hit me, they will. And then I'll know, right, okay, I need to keep that hand up a little bit more. Or, it's just a working
relationship.
That's the word I was looking for, a working relationship, yeah.
So, Natasha, God's blessed you with a lot of qualities. God's blessed you with a beautiful child. God's blessed you with an athletic skill set, with a good family infrastructure. But what advice would you give, Natasha, to any up and coming athletes, female boxers or female footballers or any female sports lady? Because lots of people, for example, you're a single mother, you have taken that as strength and you continue with your career. A lot of people who are single mothers just throw in the towel, whether they're working in an office, whether they're a sports person. But I love that drive and determination, that focus that you're still continuing. And that's commendable.
Jeez,
so what advice would you give the younger next generation of people who are coming through? Because you're going to retire by the end of this year, I understand.
Yeah.
So
that's the plan.
And you're going to inspire the next generation. So what advice would you give to the next generation of sports people coming forward? Or anyone, even in business, you're an inspiration.
I think take your opportunities when they come. Like I took a big gamble and went to America and it didn't work out. But I can sit here and talk about it and say, I went and it didn't work. I'd hate to be sitting here and say, I had that opportunity and I didn't take it. So take all your opportunities when they come. I think believe in yourself, like I said before, for all them reasons is huge. And I think when it comes to motherhood, I think there's an opinion or a social thing that, when you become a mum, everything that you do has to stop, and I'm still Tasha. Being a mum is what I am, but it's not who I am. Who I am is Tasha. And, all them qualities that we talk about, your motivation, your drive, I can still have them. The baby becomes part of the baby being Mila.
Yeah.
Becomes part of that motivation.
And Mila will look up to you as she grows older. See, my mother was a 2-time world champion. My mother went to the first woman to fight at Olympics, British woman. So you'll be an inspiration to your daughter growing up, and many other young girls around the world.
Yeah, there's nothing nowhere that says because you're a mum you have to stop trying to achieve what you want. I've still got goals, I've still got dreams, and I've still got targets and things that I want to do. And she becomes part of the motivation to be able to do that. She now knows, when she was little, she knows that mum boxed and mum went to the gym. That was her work.
Yeah.
She didn't. Now that she's older, she understands what goes into that. She understands what happens when I'm in the gym. She understands the fight routine and the fight plan. She looks at myself, my sister Nikita Paris, who plays for Man United at the moment. We'll talk about that another time. And England, and going to the Euros. We've gone the Euros with her. We've gone the World Cup with her, and she understands what a woman. One, it's okay to be a woman in a man's space, but also that the hard work and the ups and downs that go into being successful, because it's not always easy. You don't always make the right decisions. There is a lot of, time you're flying and you think, oh, can't get any greater. And then there's lows, and there's them lows that test you. But without the lows and without them things that go wrong and without them bad experiences, you don't get to be the person that I am now. So people always ask me, is there anything that you did change? And no, because they've made all them experiences have made me who I am right this second, good and bad.
Yeah, everything happens for a reason. For example, if you didn't get injured at football, you wouldn't have gone into boxing.
Exactly.
You would have been two times world champion.
Exactly. So you've got to take the good and the bad. And there isn't a sports person that I know, or a successful person that I know, that hasn't, always made the right decisions, or, and you never know what the reaction to something is going to be. So you can take an action and you think, well, this is that going to happen, and all of a sudden it goes into a million different things. I didn't think that, finishing football would lead me to boxing, which would lead me to being a parliamentary speaker, or being a pundit on Sky Sports, or, a motivational speaker in schools and working with community. I never knew that. But that's the doors that it's opened, and I appreciate that. But
and from failure, whenever you get set back, you always go back to the drawing board and learn and then evolve. So that's my experience. Whenever I made a mistake, I always learned and it evolved.
Exactly.
I presume the same as with your career.
100%. Yeah, it's only a mistake if you don't learn from it. If you learn, grow, and develop, and you might have to make a couple, because Lord knows I've made a couple. So yeah, you might have to make a couple, but you'll get to the product in the end. You get to where you need to be and where you're supposed to be.
And what do you do, Tasha, when you're down? Like when you face a challenge, you feel upset. Like when I feel upset, I feel down, I'll go and exercise, I'll go and pray, I'll reflect, I'll take time out, I'll be alone, I'll speak to my mentor. What will you do when you are feeling down, when you've had a setback, a challenge? What do you do? What's your coping mechanism? Because that's very important.
Yeah.
Because some people actually, when they have challenges, it's just hold it inside them. I think it's good to talk to someone and learn how to deal with it, because life's full of challenges. In your career, what have you done when you face challenges?
I learn about myself. So every camp that I go into, I get a new book. It's normally a psychology book. I love psychology. I love how the brain works and how powerful the brain, your mind can be. You can either be your biggest asset or to your detriment. And every camp, I learned something new about myself. Previously, as an amateur, I spent time with my family. I like the biggest thing about having the baby is when I was an amateur, even though now it's all about the result, because we're in sport, it's all about the result, it's all about to win. I never ever got the mental space to just relax, because there was 2 other people competing with me to try and take my spot. There was only ever going to be one qualifier to go. So I felt the pressure constantly, and there was no switch off, because you couldn't switch off. You couldn't. Now with the baby, as soon as I leave this gym and I open, the door to the house, I'm just mum. Yeah. I'm not Miss GB anymore, which she calls me as well. I'm just mum. So yeah, Miss GB is left in the gym, and that just gives me that mental space to be able to switch off from boxing and do what I need to do at home and be Mila's mum.
Good. So you've got the ability to switch on and off where you need to be.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a great skill set.
It was something that I never had before. Yeah. And again, it's something that I had to develop, because it is hard when everything's constantly about how you perform and about numbers and about winning and it's hard to switch off. Or if you lose, it's thinking, oh, how's that going to affect me? But now I have that mental switch off, and she doesn't care how sparring went. She just wants a dinner to be on the plate. She doesn't care about,
So you're going to, when the gym, you're going to beast mode. At the house, you're going to mum mode.
Exactly that. And she says, there's certain hairstyles that I'll do. And she goes, Mum, are you Miss GB? And I go, yeah, babe, I'm Miss GB. And she'll go, okay.
Very inspiring story. Also, Tasha, the other question I want to ask you is that domestic violence in the United Kingdom is on the rise. So what I obviously have 5 sisters, I have a huge family, and I think it's very important for women to learn self-defense, whether they get to your level or not, but just to, if they have that self-defense, then they know they can walk out of in a situation, they don't feel trapped, they can handle themselves. What's your view on that? Because I think you'll be a great ambassador for domestic violence. I actually own a hostel in London which houses domestic violence women. I see what goes through. What's your views on that? Someone to learn boxing and you to help people, victims of domestic violence. So when women get abused in England, they send them to a hostel to get them away from their partners who abuse them. What do you think of that? Boxing,
No,
how will that?
yeah, I think there's a great scope to be able to work with that. There's a lot of things that I've learned through boxing, and that's, you know, there's a confidence that you get from being able to protect yourself. I don't go out and front, you know, puff my chest out and I'm big and I'm hard and I want to fight everyone in the street.
Yeah.
I'm quite the opposite, but I know that I can if I need to.
Yeah, you're very humble. And one thing I've learned about successful people, the more successful they are, the more humble they get. So you're very humble. That's a quality.
But yeah, I think, you know, for a stress relief, at the time when I started boxing, there was a lot going on. You know, I was essentially retired from one sport. I didn't see where I wanted to be a professional athlete. That's always been my goal since when I was 4 years old. And I couldn't see where I was going. I got involved in gangs. I got involved in just all total madness. And that was because my drive, my mindset had changed. It's gone negative because there was no sport in it. And I think when I found boxing, it's like just for an hour, I didn't feel judged. I didn't feel pressured. I was allowed to escape and stress relief and just get the world off me back for an hour. And then it was back to the real world. But just for 1 hour only, it was all about me. And I didn't have to worry about any, that space and that time was just, I was living in the present, which I think a lot of people struggle with. People are either focused on, you know, what's been and what's happened and reacting to that, or they're worried about what's coming because they're unsure. But for that 1 hour, I was just,
in the moment.
I was present. And
that's very important.
I hadn't experienced that for a long time since I'd played football. So I think there's that. But then, yeah, I think if you're happy, the endorphins that you get from it doesn't matter what sport you do. You go out and, you know, you go to the gym, whatever it is, you run, you know, you play paddle, you go do tennis, you box, whatever it is. When you're done, you feel great.
The dopamine hit.
The endorphins that you get, you feel great. And that continues on throughout your day. You might have a little lull, have a little dinner, whatever it is. But so if you can get that and keep achieving that and keep getting that. And we all know about the psychological effects and the physiological effects that sports has on you. But if you can feel good, that's the thing that most people are chasing and craving. And that will then, you know, extend outwards. And I think if you have a happy, they say, I don't know because I've never been married, but if you have a happy wife, then you'd have a happy life. So
exactly. And also, Tasha, the other question I wanted to ask you is, when you have boxing, obviously you get paid for boxing, you're a professional athlete, you fight for prize money. When you have the money, invest in property, because I'm a property expert. I've been in the property industry for 30 years, because property's a steady income and the property values will always go up if you buy at the right price. And I've advised many athletes, footballers, boxers, on how to get assets, because this podcast is from bricks to riches. So Tasha, whenever you buy property, I'm always here to help you. I appreciate that. Help your property portfolio grow. So, for example, let's say in a year's time you're retired, then you could have, let's say, a dozen properties in and around Liverpool, and you could live off the rent and do your boxing on the side, maybe coach people, mentor people. So I'm always here to help. Any questions about property, Tasha?
I've got a few in my phone. Can I just go and get my phone and ask them?
Yeah.
Okay. How much time do you get to spend not working? And is that important?
In property.
It's just not how much time you spend.
When you're self-employed, I always work. I work 7 days a week. I'm always focused on the job. Even if it's like a Sunday, I'm always thinking how to better myself. I actually love working. And I love finding the opportunity. I love creating wealth. So I'm always thinking how to create more wealth, how to work harder, work smarter, and actually leave a legacy behind, because there's a lot of wealthy people there. But I like to do property transactions that other people don't do. That's why I started a e-learning course to help the younger generation. Even though I'm not making profit from it, it's just cost making, covering costs, but I try to help people.
What is the legacy you want to leave, and like what is the end goal for you, or is there an end goal?
Yeah, so the legacy I want to leave is, first of all, when I go around, I've done big tall towers, made buildings like the Tesla showroom. I made that in Stockport. I built 49 apartments in Altrincham, Hale. I'm doing 1,000 apartments in Birmingham, Monaco House. So my children, grandchildren, because our dad built that. So that's a legacy. Secondly, I always have this little thing in my head that if I do well out of this deal, I'm going to give X amount of money to this charity. So I always like to give back to the universe, because I'm in my faith. If you give in a good way, the universe gives you more.
Yeah,
it's reciprocation, and that's what Ramadan's about. You give, and then you get back tenfold.
Yeah, I actually did Ramadan this year.
Did you?
Not for religious reasons, because I would say I'm spiritual, but not religious. But I do like the reasons why you do Ramadan. So I did a Ramadan this year. I've tried it previous years, and I couldn't finish it. It was tough, but I actually completed it this year.
All 30?
Yeah, all 30.
No food, no drink?
I ended up drinking only because I was training still.
Right.
But yeah, the no food, and that last hour, it was testing. I used to like look at them 3 minutes more each day was a lot.
I really enjoyed Ramadan. That's the best part of the year for me.
Yeah, okay.
But it's just not about, so a lot of people who don't understand Ramadan, they think it's just about fasting, but it's actually about fasting every sense. So you have to fast your eyes, don't look at things that are bad. Fast your nose, don't stick your nose in other people's business. Like a lot of women gossip. You don't, but a lot of women gossip.
So the lads actually in this, if you're in this gym, they're worse than the women. Joe knows.
Don't eavesdrop. So don't eavesdrop on people. Help people. So it's about fasting the stomach, fasting the eyes. Every sense is about fasting. So by the end of the Ramadan, after the last 30 days, you're supposed to come out a better human being. So if you're driving a car and someone says road rage, or someone says F off to you, you're not supposed to react. You're supposed to smile and ignore it. That's the whole purpose of Ramadan, is to become a good human being.
Yeah.
So some people just fast and that's it. They think they're amazing. So no, you have to follow everything. Do the complete package.
That's the reason I like it. I like the spiritual elements. I like that you
help
have to
people.
Be good, and do good. And I think that's why I'm not, like I say, I'm not really religious, but I do believe that every religion appreciates a good person with good qualities. So I do try and just be that person.
And also, if you're a good person, you actually see it in your face. You have like a shine on your face. If you go to a prison, you'll see evil people. If you go to a church or a mosque, you'll see nice people there, and they've got a glow about them. Your heart's reflected in your face.
Cool. Hopefully mine shines.
Yeah, it does yours. Talking about Ramadan, next Ramadan, we'll break our fast together. I'll take you out for dinner.
I did the Liverpool iftar this year, yeah.
Yeah, so next time I'm going to invite you for sure.
Cheers,
and then when I go out with you, it's good because you're a good-looking woman. People won't know. People won't know that you can handle yourself. So anybody starts something, you can give them a 1-2.
I'll be
your bodyguard.
Human bodyguard, yeah. What's the best book you've read?
Best book I read self-help books.
Okay.
I read the book Don't Sweat the Small Stuff.
I've seen that one.
It's Richard Carlson's writer, and it sold over 10 million copies worldwide. Because I'm on a mission to improve myself in every aspect, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, in every way.
Cool. How do you make tough decisions? Do you follow your heart, head, or have another method?
No, what I do, any tough decision, I actually follow. I think about it, take my time. I follow my heart, I follow my head, everything combined, and then I do a prayer to God. God, do what's right for me, because you know the unforeseen, you know what's going to happen. Please guide me in the right way.
That's obviously led you in good stead. So a mix of everything.
Yeah, everything.
Okay.
Whenever you've got a tough decision, don't do it quickly.
Okay.
Always take your time and think it through.
What does like an average day for you look like? Like
Average day for me, I get up early in the morning, I start my day with prayers, and then I finish about 7 p.m. But even when I go home, every evening I'm still on my laptop for a couple of hours replying to emails, and I actually do calls as well. I actually do 20,000 steps a day doing calls, walking around.
just what? Yeah, just on
Because
your
I've
phone.
got so many calls to make, and I just walk and do my calls.
Do you ever switch off or?
Only on holiday.
Oh,
This Ramadan actually switched off because I went to Saudi Arabia for 2 weeks.
oh,
So I
okay.
was only on the laptop for about an hour a day. I was praying and just relaxing.
How was that?
Really good, spiritually cleansed me.
Okay. This one's a little bit deep, but what do you think? Why are you here? What do you think your purpose is on this earth to do?
Me as an individual.
Yep.
I think my purpose here is to obviously to help people grow and evolve. God's been kind to me, and I want to pay it back to the universe.
Okay.
So everyone's here for a purpose, and I think everyone has a responsibility to their community, to their family, to their friends. And if you can help people grow, why not share that love? I have loads of friends in the community who ask me, can we buy this property? Can we do this? Can we do this? And I always say to them, sure, I'll help you. And I ring them and I give them advice. Like one of my friends, recently he just rang me, this Indian gentleman, he lives around the corner. He says his daughter signed a tenancy agreement for an apartment in London and she wants out. What should I do? And he said, people just say, you don't need to do anything, just rent that room and sublet it. So I gave him advice where he was getting ripped off 5-10 grand, because if you help someone,
Yeah.
in Arabic it's called sadqa. Basically, the universe will help you. So it's always good to be kind.
Yeah. Bit like karma.
Yeah, karma. That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Do you have any habits and good that means good or bad?
Yeah, habits is I like food. I like going out.
Don't we all?
Yeah, I go out every day for dinner, so my restaurant bills must be between a couple of grand a week. But I like going fine dining restaurants.
Oh, okay.
So I go to like all the best ones in London, Manchester. That's what I do. So I
Which
like
is your
it.
favourite?
Probably Italian Cipriani in London.
Okay.
I like that, really nice.
Okay.
And the bad habit is that I'm addicted to the phone. My partner says I'm on the phone all the time.
It's like my little girl.
Yeah.
Well, obviously you're not watching YouTube, but what are your priorities right now?
Priorities right now is work and family, and to be a good person. Because every action you do, if you think of the universe, God's watching you. Because God's when sometimes alone, you have to think that there's a bigger thing in the world. There's God. In Arabic, Allah. Allah's watching everything. So you have to think about how big God conscience. That's what I am all the time. Okay. That's why I pray 5 times a day. And in the prayer, it says, oh God, guide me in the straight path. People who you're pleased of, not the people who displeased of. So trying to be on the straight path.
Okay. And the last one is a bit more property specific. Is there a benefit in buying properties in a limited company? And would you suggest that, or be private? What's the pros and cons?
The benefits of buying it in a personal name, there's benefits for that, and there's benefits for a limited company. Limited company, you have to pay less tax. Personally, you have to pay more tax. But if you're buying a property for the first time, then you can buy the property in your personal name because you get a stamp duty exemption. In a limited company, if you're buying a probate property, there's no stamp duty. So the pros and cons in each circumstance. You have to understand, number one, what's the property purchase price and what type of property it is. Is it commercial property? Is it residential? Commercial one, I'd put in a limited company. Residential one, generally, I'd put in a personal name. Unless it was a probate one, because the new legislation, the law, if somebody passes away and you buy that property, then you basically don't have to pay stamp duty.
Okay.
I like the reverse podcast. I like the reverse podcast.
Yeah. Did you enjoy answering the question?
Yeah,
yeah.
But so, Tasha, a couple of other questions I'll ask you that a lot of my students have asked me to ask you. Number one, Tash, what's your view about stereotyping boxing? What's your view about that?
To be honest, I had a lot of stereotypes about boxing and about going into boxing, like I said, and it was only through actually going, trying it, that I dispelled all them myself. But I think from a very young age, I was always comfortable around boys. And because I liked sports, because I was doing what my older cousins did who I live with, I was always deemed as like quite masculine and a tomboy, as they say. And I didn't realize the implications of that until I was older, and going into senior school when I was around girls that, for whatever reason, had disassociated from sport, and you know, I felt like I was the odd one out because I actually liked it. I never ever in the whole of my school missed a PE session ever, and I was a rarity. So I didn't understand why nobody else liked it, and it was only then that I realised that I was seen as the like different one, and the like manly masculine one for liking sport, and it was a little bit tough because that was the only thing I ever got praised for. It was the only thing that I ever knew I was good at, and I felt like for a long time I had to hide it, because I didn't want my friends to know because they didn't like it. And it was only through, growing up, maturing and getting comfortable with who I was that I realised that it's okay to stand out. I didn't mind standing out as long as it was for all the right reasons.
Good. And one other point I want to ask you, one of my mentors said this to me, Imran Khan, who was a cricketer, who was the former Prime Minister of Pakistan. He did not know how to play the hook shot. So at cricket, when the ball bounces up and it's about to hit your head, you have to hit the bat that way. And he practiced that every day for 5 hours a day. He used to get his teammates to bowl and bouncers, and the ball used to hit his head and he used to hook it. So he became the best hooker in the world. And Mayweather said this as well. In order to get good at something, you have to practice it for 10,000 hours.
Yeah.
So your advice to up-and-coming athletes, if you want to get good at something, keep on practicing it.
Yeah, and not only work on, people think, right, I'm brilliant at this, so I don't need to work on that. I'll just work on the things that I'll work on my weaknesses. And that is, working on your weaknesses is very important, but it's also important to still keep working on what you're good at. You don't want to lose what you're actually good at.
Yeah.
Especially when you change from from amateur to professional. Amateurs are a little bit quicker because the rounds are shorter. People are lighter on the feet and a bit point scoring.
And you have the head guards and everything, don't you?
We do as females, yeah. And then when you come to pro, everyone's like, right, you've got to stand there, you've got to hit hard, and you forget that what you was actually good at was moving your feet and being quick and being like elusive. So don't lose what you're good at as well as working on your weaknesses as well.
So practice is the key, isn't it?
Practice, unfortunately, is the key.
That's consistency.
The only way. Practice, consistency, and not comparing yourself to who you was or trying to be better than you was yesterday.
Good. I like that. And also, what's your view about YouTubers becoming boxers? Because I think, I've seen your fights, I think you could batter Jake Paul. So if Jake Paul said to you, Tash, I'm going to give you £10 million, come and fight me, what would you say?
I'd fight Anthony Joshua for £10 million. I think I may be in the minority, but I don't mind the YouTube boxing. You've got to take it for what it is. Do I think WWE is professional wrestling? No. It's just an entertainment sport, and I think
it's all staged.
Exactly, and maybe it's not staged and they are competing, but it's the same type of thing. It's like, it is what it is. And does it bring more eyes to boxing? Probably. Does it bring a new audience? Probably. But when he first come into the sport, I was like, this is an outrage, and I was on board with everything else. But then I've seen how he's developed. He's actually given Amanda Serrano her 2 biggest paydays. He's given her a Puerto Rican homecoming. He pays all his fighters well. He puts them on shows. He makes sure he's not the only one earning. And I think a lot of promoters within our sport, he's teaching us that there is a better way. And still, he's still making money. Otherwise, he wouldn't be doing it. But sometimes I feel like, especially as a professional, fans see the sport, but we're in the business, and we are the most critical and imperative part of the business, but we are the least protected as the athletes. And I think that needs to change. And I think how this guy from YouTube is showing us that is madness, but it is. As a business model, he's creating millionaires out of female fighters, which was seen as couldn't never be done.
So maybe we can do our own YouTube channel and we can make lots of money.
100% when you're ready.
Okay, and also you're from Liverpool. I love Liverpool. When I was a student at Manchester University, I used to go out to Cream all the time to
Oh
rave.
yeah, yeah,
I used to love it. And I
yeah.
find Liverpool people very friendly, very bubbly. What's your fan base like in Liverpool when you walk down the streets? Do people come up to you for photos, autographs? What's
Sometimes it depends if you're in like a boxing. Boxing's only a very like it's a very small
yeah,
like
community?
niche
Yeah, yeah,
group of people. So normally if someone does ask, then you'll see people double take and be like, who is she? Who is she?
yeah,
Like, and then they'll want one just they might not even know who I am, but they'll want one just because someone else
yeah.
has asked. But yeah, you know, I think like I said before, it's only through me experiences that make me into the woman I am now. So that includes where I grew up in Toxteth, you know, just after the riots. You're talking unrest in the city. It's full of crime. It's full of
Toxic
poverty.
drugs and everything.
Exactly, yeah.
So you did well to stay out of the drug circle and get into sports. That's
Exactly. There was
commendable.
only certain ways I could see a route out. And like I said earlier, when I did fall into traps and I did fall into the stereotypes of what people believe people from Toxteth was, that hurt me more because I'd always said to myself, I wouldn't be that person. My mum was a young mum, had me at 15. I grew up in a house with my nan and my cousins because she was only a kid herself. And, you know, before I was born, people were saying to me, Mum, I think it'd be best if you get an abortion because, you know, because you're a young mum, you're probably only going to bring her up to be like this and she'll only be like this. And there was already stereotypes of who I was going to be before I was born. There was already barriers and, you know, boxes put in. I was put into boxes and I wasn't even born yet. And as I've grown in life, I've never wanted to be fit into them boxes. I've always wanted to push the water, push the boundaries, and be things that people said I couldn't, and prove me mum right and other people wrong. That's happened from Liverpool. Liverpool is so supportive. I've never had any negative press.
Have you ever faced racism in Liverpool or anywhere in the world?
I
Because
think
sometimes, obviously, me being brown skin, sometimes I face racism. People might not say it in your face, but the way they look at you, the way they interact with you, the way they might not treat you as well. Have you ever experienced that?
yeah, I mean, racism, especially in Liverpool at the time, growing up, there was a big divide. There was certain parts of the city were just no-go zones if you were black like me. Toxteth is a very, very multicultural part of Liverpool. You've got the oldest Chinese community within anywhere in England. We've got, I think, Liverpool's biggest and oldest mosque.
Yeah.
And then we've got the highest.
Have you ever seen Mo Salah there?
No, but I know that the kids used to always chase Marnie when he used to be there. So yeah, we've got the oldest and biggest black community. So we are very multicultural. And it was only when I moved out of Liverpool that I actually realised that I don't want to say I was black, but that's when I noticed because everyone else was a different colour. And I was thinking, oh wow, because I'd never felt out of place because everyone kind of looked like me. It was only when I moved out that I thought, oh, wow, I am actually of the minority because I always thought I was the majority because everyone around me looked like that. But yeah, there's little tiny bits of racism going to tournaments and saying, you know, yeah, I'm a GB boxer when you getting your accreditation and they're like, well, who are you boxing? And we're like, England. And they were like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, I'm sure. I'm English. And they was, well, you don't look English. Well, what does English look like? And they're like, well, not like you. And I'm like, okay. Well, they said they made me go and get my passport. So I had to go and get my passport to prove that I was English. And I laugh, but that's kind of, it's not funny. You know what I mean? It's like, it's them little micro aggressions that, you know, when they're called like.
Happens a lot, sadly.
It does, yeah.
Because you're obviously you've got name Natasha Jonas, which is an English name. But imagine if your name was Abdullah Patel.
Yeah.
Because I know this guy who applied for a job is an Oxford graduate, and then he applied for a job, and then he said his name was Abdullah Patel. They rejected it, but then he changed his name to Andrew Smith, and they gave him an interview, and he got the job.
It's crazy.
So the name makes a difference.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think sometimes, you know, your actual color, you know, how black you are can make a difference. And it's sad that even in,
if anyone's racist next time, just give them one.
I wish I could. But yeah, it's still, you know, it's still a conversation, which sadly, you know, my nan's mum had with her, and I still to this day have that conversation. Now my daughter is very, very fair skinned, but you know, you ask her what colour she is, she'll say she's black. And I still have to have that conversation with her, because I know that, you know, there is a minority of people, and it is a minority that, you know, instead of directing, you know, insults at what she is, they'll direct an insult at what she looks like.
That's just ignorance.
It is, but unfortunately,
nobody's this colour. I'm not this colour by choice, neither are you. This is just the way the universe dealt the cards.
Yeah, it should be about who you are as a person. You know, if she's mean, then she's mean.
Yeah.
But she doesn't. Her colour shouldn't come into that.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
But Natasha, thank you so much for your time. I know you're a busy lady.
No, it's okay.
I know you have to collect your daughter from school shortly, and you have to drive back to Liverpool.
Yeah.
So we'll bring it to an end. But I'm always here as a friend to help you when you build your property empire. If you want any advice or any business advice, just drop me a call.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
I would like to take you for Ramadan dinner with the whole team here in the Ramadan 2025. You choose the restaurant. Are we going
I'm going to that posh one that you said.
Cipriani, We'll go to that. We'll bring all the podcast team with us as well.
All right.
Bring your daughter for sure.
All right.
She'll love that. So thank you very much.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.
I wish you all the best in your career, and I hope you finish it on a high.
Likewise.
And leave a legacy.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.